Anyone else find it interesting that the main figures in each Wreck 'n' Rule Collection 2-pack are molds that initially came out in the same multi-pack during Siege? Maybe applying the budget to 2 figures from a previous pack allowed for more remolding of the box's contents. Just a thought to propel us into the final video of this set of Wrecker reviews. I do not own the correct bulkhead and Springer. Maybe if I get enough people asking about them in the comments I'll look over these versions in a couple of weeks. Anyway, so far the figures I've looked at from this subline have had pretty major build issues. So, does the Legacy Wreck 'n' Rule Collection Masterdominus and G2 Universe Leadfoot continue this trend? No. Mostly. So Leadfoot here was originally one of the G2 Rotoforce figures, before his name was attached to one of the Wreckers in Dark of the Moon, and he is being represented here very nicely by the Kingdom Mirage mold, which I am quite fond of. The proportions of this figure are great, the detailing here is really sleek, and I love the mixture of shapes making up the faux hood chest. The colours here are incredible too. This guy might have surpassed Impactor as my favourite deco on the team. He has this stark contrast between the standard yellow and this lovely glossy metallic blue, which is such a deep shade. I really enjoy the gaudy 90s decals tampographed onto his chest and shoulders too. Evo here seems to have a head that's molded in a different plastic though, which has then been painted yellow, which is unfortunately rather noticeable in person, but it's not a huge deal and I still quite like the design. This mold really caught me off guard by just how well it moves. A lot of the joints are really satisfying and tight. You can use the transformation joints to allow him to kneel, and he even has a super tight ab crunch. He can hold just about any pose effortlessly, and he looks good doing it too. The weaponry is really nice too. The gun echoes Mirage rather a lot, but not nearly as much as the huge rocket launcher he's toting. This thing looks mean. I love how chunky it is. On the original Siege mold, this thing had a port to plug into the figure's shoulder, but that was unfortunately left out when updating the transformation for the Kingdom redesign, which is a shame. Personally, I tend to just leave the rocket launcher slung under Leadfoot's arm now instead. Of course, the final accessory here is Masterdominus, a retool of Kingdom Rachdanite that wears the mold with so much swagger. The new knightly head adds a lot of energy to the figure, both visor up and down, and the skull shoulder pad makes him look like an absolute unit. I love the colours they used here. The gold is so shiny and striking, and the matte black is such an uncommon thing to find on a Transformers figure, and adds so much to the design. I also love the red panels behind the ribs on the torso. They give off such a good look, and I love the massive tusk claw. That's my favourite weapon out of any of the Wreckers that I've looked at. Masterdominus here moves a little better than Spindle did. He has good solid legs with real ankle pivots, and all of his joints are thankfully really nice and tight, except for the right shoulder here unfortunately. This component is just a hair or two too loose, making the arm a bit wibbly. However, this is not nearly as bad as a lot of the loose joints across this subline, and it's not quite as integral to the structure as Spindle's legs or Twin Twist's head, for instance. Unfortunately, while Masterdominus here works better as his own figure than Spindle did, his weaponizing isn't quite as convincing. The instructions suggest this combination which would work, if not for Leadfoot's hands being sculpted in such a way that he can't quite hold on to enough of the pegs for this to work, and the over-the-shoulder thingies don't pass off quite so well without huge scary Spinosaurus hands on them. I did put together this giant claw assembly, which I like a lot more, but it's difficult to get Leadfoot standing with it. Even though this fossilizing isn't the best the line has to offer, I still feel that Masterdominus makes up for this with his solidity, and having an actual transformation. He is still mostly parts forming, but there's a bit of conversion within the components this time. And the Mastodon mode looks awesome too. This mold really suits being a big chunky mammal. I love the way that all the colours group together here. The head looks awesome, but even better, the fossil mode can actually move, with reasonably mobile legs, a bit of torso rotation, a fully mobile head with an opening mouth, and even some up and down at the tail. Masterdominus' alt mode far outclasses Spindle's in my opinion. A black Mastodon. Where have I seen that before? This connection has just made me fancast Johnny Young Bosch as Leadfoot now. God damn it. Speaking of Leadfoot, his transformation is really strange. It's one of those ones where you need to perform part of a step, then do something else before continuing that step, and everything needs to move in a very specific order. It's quite strange. I know a lot of people aren't a fan of how this mold uses a faux forming front chest plate, but I really don't mind since I like the way both the robot and F1 car modes look respectively. I really enjoy the overall shape of this mode. I like how the colours have shifted from a 50-50 split of yellow and blue to a mostly yellow car with some blue on the sides. I think the cockpit area looks pretty good, and the decals on this mold do well to continue the robot aesthetics. Only thing I will say is that the space wheels from the Siege Mirage don't make the most convincing Earth tires. This set overall oozes much more quality than the other ones I picked up. I think the Impactor is still my favourite individual figure of this subline, but Leadfoot here is a close second, with Masterdominus taking third. The decos of each figure and the solidities overall leave me recommending this set strongly for any G2 fans or people attempting to construct a fossilizer Megazord.